What's up, guys? So today we got a question from Justin on Instagram, who recently got promoted to Blue Belt. Congratulations, bro. And he sends in this question. He says, hey, Chewy, I know you always talk about getting promoted really quickly from Blue Belt to Purple Belt, which I did. I got promoted really quickly from Blue Belt to Purple Belt. He says, what would you have done differently if you had spent more time at the Blue Belt stage? Now, I wasn't sure what he meant with this, so I asked him, I was like, hey, what do you mean by this, and where's this coming from? And he said, I'm just curious to see, if because of the black belts that he got promoted by, said he needs to focus on attacking from his guard, being on his back, because it's an area that he's lacking. And so he's curious, about some ideas about how to make the most of his time at Blue Belt. And so just get some ideas from me. So, Justin, thanks for the question, bro. And thinking about your question, I was thinking about maybe one of the biggest mistakes that I made as a Blue Belt. And I've sort of narrowed it down to this. When I was a white belt coming up back in the day, the only thing that I was focused on was winning. I was focused on winning every roll, every time that I could. I was focused on winning every tournament I could. And so what ended up happening is once I got out of this initial getting smashed phase and started to figure out what I was decent with and started to develop some semblance of an A game, that's all I did. I did the A game all the time. That's all I did, no matter what, right? It was always the same stuff. And I did this for a number of years, up until about Purple Belt. Now, as a Blue Belt, once I got there to the Blue Belt level, I was better than a good amount of people that I was training with at this point, because again, Blue Belt back when I got promoted in 2005, it was kind of a big deal back then because there wasn't that many of us, or wait a second, no, it's 2004. Things get fuzzy as you get older. So 2004, I got promoted to Blue Belt. And I remember getting promoted to Blue Belt, and there were a few people that could still put the beating down on me, but I was better than a lot of people. At this point, if looking back on it, what I wish I would have done that maybe could be useful to you, and I think it will be because it sounds like you have a similar problem as I did, is I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to explore, right? I talk about the Blue Belt now as the buffet belt, the belt where you can sample the buffet line, because now you've got enough of a skill buffer between people that are under you that you can actually try stuff out. Because in the beginning, when you're newer, if you try something out, you get smashed immediately. As you get better though, when you roll with certain people, you can try something out, and if they pass your guard or if they put a little smash on you for a second, you have enough skill that you can get something going afterwards, so it's a little bit more forgiving. And so that's a point where you need to try stuff out. And that's something I didn't do. I kept essentially the same game for, continuing on. And by the time I got to Purple Belt, this is where I had a lot of trouble with people that had experimented a lot more as a Blue Belt, because then I'm going into tournaments, and if I couldn't get someone into my A game, I was cooked. I just didn't have anything for them because I wasn't playing any other positions, so I had no muscle memory built up anywhere else, and I wasn't experimenting and playing around in other areas. And so what I would say to you, Justin, is it sounds like you might be in a similar position where your coaches are saying, hey, you need to play from this position. Because again, you spend that time as a white belt climbing up the ladder, trying to get yourself up the pecking order. Now you're a Blue Belt. Now you have to start playing around a little bit more. And I know it's kind of it can mess with you because you're a Blue Belt and you don't want to lose to the white belts now. And again, I know some of you guys are going to go, oh, these stupid belts, whatever. I get it. But again, you could take the belt away. And I remember in high school wrestling, we all knew the pecking order. Every one of us knew who could beat whom. And you didn't want to lose to the guy that you'd beaten before. So again, you can take the belts out of it. We'll figure it out one way or the other, who's where, right? And so going back to it, you're going to have to let that go a little bit, because the best thing that you could do is start to take some of those guys that you can put that smash game on and play around. Just learn new things, try new weapons, try new stuff. Play around with those positions, because that's something I wish I would have done. Now again, when you go up against some of the tougher white belts, or even some of the guys that are higher up than you can play your A game, go back to it. But again, with those people that you can already smash, instead of just smashing them more and more, play some of your weaker areas and start experimenting. Try new stuff. Just figure out new stuff. You could even play from your top game and figure out new options from that with those people. This is kind of why I always have an A game and a B game going at all times. There's my A game that I can always turn on, and that's the game that I use for competitions and for the toughest of roles that I have. And then there's my B game. And my B game is what I'm always working on in the background. It's my research and development sort of side of things. And this is why I'm continuously always bringing in new techniques into my game, because again, when I'm rolling with my students, like my tougher students that I have to like fight every bit with, well then I use my A game. But for some of the guys that are a lot like less skilled than me, I play my B game, and I'm trying all this new stuff because I want to bring in new weapons into my game, so I'm always evolving and always improving, and you want to do the same. So if you were going to ask me, one of the things that I would have done differently going back to my blue belt, I would have experimented more and let the ego attachment to my blue belt and my skill and my pecking order, I would have let that go to some degree, so this way I could allow myself to try out new stuff with some of the lower belts instead of hanging on to the same game for too long. So Justin, hopefully that's useful to you, bro, and again, congratulations on your belt and good luck to you in your training.